Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Culz Interviews. Today is going to be a really fun show because we're talking with our buddy who kind of reminds me of a little bit of ourselves because he has a lot of interest. He just seems a little bit more successful in what he's doing because he runs a lot of stuff. He does some wrestling, some rodeo, and he loves Wild West stuff. So, Aaron, thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm trying to get on y'all's level, brother. That's it. I'm trying to get on y'all's level.
Oh, I think you're above us. Like you're so successful. Like I watch your stories and you always have like rodeo shows or wrestling shows. I'm like, I don't know how you do it, but I love it because I want to be that person. Like Sam knows, I just like I love to stay busy. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a blessing, and being the starving artist, it's one of those things. I have people tell me, "Man, you're so lucky. You're so lucky." Well, it took me about 20 years to get lucky, and but they say that preparation, meeting opportunity, that's what luck is. So
Yeah, no, we can relate there because we've been doing our stuff since like 2007, 8, and then we got on YouTube about 2010-ish, 2010, 11. Doing it a while, but we regrouped the channel. So yeah, it takes time, but some family always told me like good things take time. So things that come easy go easy. So longer they take, hopefully the longer they last, right?
yeah, that's
Time and
true.
hard work.
Yeah, that's it.
Lots of hard work.
It's all this, it's all the stuff that people don't see that makes
Mm.
the part where they do see it possible. I tell a lot of people, the getting the attention or whatever, that stuff has a time span. It has a lifespan. Um, I know me personally, the reasons I started doing all this stuff for have totally changed, compared to the reasons I do it for now. And but getting the success and stuff like that, or the attention, or kind of getting seeing the fruit of it all, is just a byproduct of a lot of hard work, a lot of consistency, and a lot of years. So like I say, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
And the one thing I know is it gets really, really hard right before it becomes really easy. So never stop,
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, I've slept on so many couches. It felt like for years and years and years. I guess it was. You don't realize you're really struggling. You're just trying to make it, and to achieve whatever it is that you think success is in your mind. And you just ultimately you're paying your dues. And I'm just now, after all this time, starting to see some of the fruits getting bared. Because there was plenty of times I know that I could have probably quit and probably should have quit in a lot of people's eyes, and thought about it for sure myself. But I'll say that's kind of been the key to all of it, is not disappearing and sticking with it. It's kind of like who's left standing at the end. That's who makes it. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree there. Well, where should we start today? You want to start rodeo? Do you want to start with wrestling, Wild West? What you mean? You're our
man,
guest, so let us know.
it's all good to me. It's all seems to be happening all at the same time. We've got to do a lot of great things with the wrestling. The rodeo is always kind of like on a rocket ship. And but personally, my guilty pleasure is all things that has to do with New Mexico, or Billy the Kid, or stuff like that. That kind of what brought us all together. I thought was really neat. And um, what's so important to me is the history not only be recorded properly, and for those that come after us that will appreciate it, but to mark these sites. And I feel like anything any of us can do to help our buddies at the coalition. I mean, I'm a coalition member. Y'all are coalition members, so you know I just have the utmost respect for how serious they take all this. And man, I couldn't be happier to be on that team.
Yeah, no, we love to give some shout outs to the coalition. For anyone watching, it's the Billy the Kids Historical Coalition. You guys should know because Josh and James are on here quite a bit. So hopefully you guys have seen their episode. Go check them out. But Aaron, you definitely helped, make your mark with them at Stinking Springs. You want to talk to us a little bit about that project?
Uh, when I first joined the coalition, I'm watching the work that they're doing, and I go back and I kind of look at everything that happened before I got to come around, and seeing Josh and Jeremiah and everybody marking these historical sites, and just knowing the price of those granite markers. It's man, they're not cheap, and but my family fortunately has a company located here. It's the international headquarters for boulder design, and where we make man-made boulders, custom man-made boulders. I believe we have the Guinness Book World Records largest man-made boulder in the world. Made them for just about anybody you can imagine, sports teams, cities, just anywhere. And when we saw that, it just kind of touched our heart, and we just kind of wanted to help out, and thought, if this is a way we can help out and help preserve history, it's number one, pretty cool history to preserve. My family and I, we grew up watching Young Guns on repeat, like a lot of us. And, the more you get into the history and what really happened, you realize just how important Stinking Springs is to the entire landscape of all the Billy the Kid history. And so it was just an absolute honor for us and for my family, and just to be able to be a part of that, just a small part of that, and be able to share with y'all out there, just being at the site. Josh kind of told me, it's like, man, you just, until you get there, you're going to feel these feelings when you arrive. And we've read about it for how long and how many books, and you just have it pictured in your mind what it is, but until you get there and you take it all in, and you see where that rock hut and that door to that hut was, and just how close Pat Garrett and them were in that little arroyo there, and boy, all the math happens, and it is pretty amazing. Like, it was a pretty powerful moment for me.
Oh yeah, I'd agree there. There's so many times I've stopped and just thought back to it, because it's so, I guess, different than how you picture it in your head. Because for me, I guess movies obviously influence a little bit. So you're either thinking, okay, it's snow and they were coming down from the mountains, so it must be on a hill or something, or it's on flatlands, because we've driven through New Mexico plenty of times. But you get there and it's kind of a little bit of both. Like, they're on flatlands, but that arroyo, like, you went down in it when we were still back at the site, and I couldn't see the top of your head. So it hid them perfectly.
Yeah, I laid down on my belly right where I would assume they would have been laying on their belly, and just kind of looking at that and thinking about that, the sun coming up and snow on the ground, Charlie Bowdry coming out. That you could really, really just see it in your mind. And just like say with a lot of these movies, I still don't know if I've ever seen a movie get it right. It's either a different kind of shack in the snow, or maybe part have a rock building, but it's somewhere else. I don't know. Y'all are probably the same way. I just crave absolute authenticity, for anything that surrounds that history. And unfortunately, we don't get it very often. That's why I love the coalition so much, because you can take it to the bank with them.
Yeah, no, like you're saying with the Stinking Springs hut itself, I mean, I've seen it like wood building, rock building. I know, I won't say who, but there was another documentary where it like showed it off, and it was not even the right location. They're like, it's Stinking Springs. And you're like, now that you've been there, you're like, no, that's definitely not, No. But that's the important job of, we all try to do, is preserve history. And like you said, authenticity is a big thing for me. Another history I really enjoy is like Titanic, and just watching documentaries where they use the Olympic, it bugs me, but I understand why, because they have no video of the Titanic. But I'm like, the windows are wrong, what are they doing here? But no, as far as like the stone, and something me and Sam have told other people, it's beautiful. Like, you guys did a fantastic job, so kudos there.
Amazing job.
Thank you. And we're very proud of it. Very, very proud of it. It's one of the things, I think the stars kind of aligned, and when it was larger than we anticipated, and the larger those stones get, obviously the heavier they get. So when Jeremiah showed up to pick it up in Waco, we had to load it with a forklift, and we all kind of looked at each other like, we got our work cut out for us, and I think Josh and Jeremiah and myself, we kind of and Twister thought we were going to have to haul this thing on a dolly 110 yards or something from the road. I was kind of prepared to do it, and it was willing to do it. It might have took me half a day, but we'd have got it there. But fortunately, Jeremiah could get his truck really, really close. It took every one of us to get that rock out, and we were just you're just afraid it's going to break. Something's going to happen. We get it all the way here, something's going to happen. And once we got it out and situated, we dug and put the header in the ground. And I'm telling you, the moment we set it on that header, it was absolutely perfect, like it was meant to be there. And it was just kind of one of the moments we all look at each other, and I just couldn't believe how well it set. It was meant to be. And I'm just so happy that this generation and hopefully multiple generations after this can visit that site and learn about this history. And being so close right there to Fort Sumner, it's just, man, it's never in a million years that I think we'd be attached to that like that. But wow, incredible.
Well, and something also really cool is from where we parked, which, like you said, not too far off, but it blends so well into the environment. If you didn't know it was there, you would think it was just natural. And so what kind of like rock did you maybe base the actual thing off of?
Man, I just kind of thought about the Southwest, I just kind of tried to picture what I thought it might be, and you just kind of take everything you've ever read, everything about New Mexico, and it just, golly, I just, when I saw that color we had, and we had it in our showroom, that a rock, that particular color, I was just kind of like, man, that's it. And how we feel about the one that's we're going to place at the Ellis House in September, and they're in Lincoln, kind of the same thing. We saw that color and what that one's going to be designed like. It's kind of the same, but different, very different. And it's exciting too, because I think everybody will appreciate that as well.
No, really nice historical markers make a difference. I know driving through New Mexico and some of our road trips, they do try at least. In Colorado, it's not so nice. So at some point, we got to help Colorado learn how to make some markers, because you're like, this is where some cool. There's Bob Ford's house, the guy who killed Jesse James in Walsenburg. Nothing about it. It's just
Nothing.
there. If you didn't know, wouldn't even know.
Well, it was even crazy when we went out to Puerto de Luna, and to guys like us and guys that really enjoy this history and do enough research to figure out the true nuts and bolts of it. When you see somewhere like Puerto de Luna, it's like holy ground almost, in a way. Like, you see this and you can picture Christmas getting spent. You can picture a wagon pulling up with Billy the Kid and Pat Garrett. I mean, there's literally bullet holes in the posts of a bullet hole in the post of the building from where Garrett shot a Mexican, in a skirmish back then. You're just so close to history, you could touch it, and it just doesn't feel like the people there even care or remember. They were storing air conditioning units there, and you just wish you had, a gazillion dollars that you could go in there and buy that and take care of it and, just preserve it. But, that's one of the things too, is it just feels like, if we aren't doing our part, all this history is going to be lost. We're a generation away from losing all this history. So, it's kind of sad to see it go, but also makes you truly thankful that you got to see it, because it's like walking back in time. It's like jumping in a time machine.
Yeah, no, I agree. When we because we went the day after you guys went to Puerto de Luna, and we stopped by the church, which was really cool. Couldn't get in, unfortunately, but it was the cleanest of the area there. And then going to where Billy spent his last Christmas, it was really cool because at least the one kitchen room looked kind of at the time, and it brought me back to watching The Kid, where they have the scene during Christmas meal and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. But like you said, only we had enough money to just like make that a museum or a park, or just have people like tour it, like kind of what they did in Lincoln, where they made the courthouse and stuff. That be so cool.
There's just a certain feeling you get. The morning I woke up in Fort Sumner, I'd never been to Fort Sumner. I still haven't been to Lincoln. I'm so excited to go. But, you just dream about this and you read so many books. And since I was, 10, 11 years old, I've just been consumed with it. And to finally be there and to wake up that morning, walk outside from the hotel motel and smell that wood smoke in the air and just know where you're at and what's close to you. I couldn't get to his tombstone quick enough. I'm talking, as soon as that sun come up, I was ready to be there. And as soon as it went down, we drank some beers. We had a great time out there. But
yeah, we did.
Just a great time. Like my heart is in New Mexico, 100%.
Yeah, no, I can agree there. I mean, I've spent so much time in New Mexico. We used to do competitive shooting down in Raton. So we would spend every September there. And then we've been going every July for the Roswell stuff. That's where we met like John LeMay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And every year we either go through Lincoln on the way there and come back Fort Sumner or vice versa. But we got to stop, give a cheers to Billy. And yeah, it's just so special out there. It's something about New Mexico itself just feels so magical. I don't know what it is.
It does. It just got a feeling, it truly is the land of enchantment.
Well, what were your feelings like? Did you get to walk around like where the old, Fort Sumner ruins and stuff would have been, and the house and stuff?
Yes, and we're where it washed out back there. Jeremiah and Josh are just enormous amount of information living inside their brains. They're incredibly smart, incredible researchers and historians. And so Jeremiah kind of walked me where things had washed out back over there. And I said, where would you, if you had to guess where he was at Beaver Smith Saloon, or, taking that tintype, like where would you guesstimate? Jeremiah's like, well, I think maybe, about, we'd be within 10 yards of it here, right over there. And just kind of like walking over there and feeling it. Obviously it's way lower than what it was, but you still get the idea. And just like, man, that this picture, this tintype that I have stared at for God knows how many hours in my life, just to where my eyes want to cross, trying to see every little detail, took place like right here. Like for me, that's heavy. That right there that's big time for me. And I really look forward to feeling those type of feelings, at that courthouse and just being in Lincoln and being able to just put my eyes on what I just dreamed about and thought about for so long. So I'm covered in gray hair now. I've been loving this stuff before I could, get around and do anything. So cool time.
Hey, speaking of the tintype, I see it hanging up behind you right there.
Oh yeah. My wife's very generous with our wall space, So, I try to keep it contained. I got a whole nother room back there that's, we got to keep that door shut. But just the artwork and stuff like that. Doss sent me this. Just anytime I see any type of artwork that's cool, Billy the Kid, I somehow try to get my hands on it. And between that and all the books, it's just kind of a sickness in a way. It's an addiction, I guess. But man, it's a fun one.
Yeah, my wallet would definitely agree there. May not like how many books I've bought. There's so many.
I just got Josh's new book of his annotated version of John Poe's book, and El Bandito Simpatico, with James Mills and stuff. And I mean, there's just a stack of them over there, and I shouldn't have any problem with reading material for the next 20 or 30 years. I feel like I got a lot of pages ahead of me to read. But it's just, sometimes you'll read another book and see someone else's point of view, and it'll just like a light switch flip it on for you. And, so just seeing everybody's take on everything, especially like Doss, Doss is a good brother and, man, one of the smartest people I know, not just in the Billy the Kid world, but just top to bottom, very, very smart man. And some of the stuff he'll discuss with me and explain to me, it's just like, man, I never thought about that, and it's just fun to be around, guys like him, guys like y'all that, we all get to fellowship with it and learn from each other. And, it's a pretty cool thing to bring us all together and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we definitely have a good time. And what I also like about it is we all work together. It's not just like, oh, you can't have this piece of history. We're all just sharing history back and forth and making more discoveries. And hey, I always say if I'm proven wrong with something, I'm fine with it because that means we learned something more. It's the whole point of it. Maybe that's a little bit of my paleontological love where you'll probably be wrong 20 years from now, but I like it.
Yeah. It seems like we learn stuff about dinosaurs different every day. I mean, what a fun subject too. That's an incredible subject. I enjoy seeing that in y'all's stories and y'all's content you put out. It's y'all just have the coolest stuff. Everything that I think is cool, y'all have your hands on it. So I'm a big fan of y'all. So it's pretty neat.
Oh, we appreciate it. Yeah, dinosaurs, Sam knows it's like an addiction for me. So much. Yeah, so much. My room's terrible. It's like a museum mixed with a bookstore. And maybe a little bit of a Best Buy. But yeah, dinosaurs I love. And this month's pretty good. It's Jurassic June, so we're doing lots of it. We're also doing Jaws because Jaws turns 50, which was insane. I was like, Jaws is 50 years old? Like, what happened?
Gave me some of the most irrational fears Jaws did as a child. You couldn't convince me a shark wasn't going to get me in the deep end of a pool. And I remember my grandparents had a swimming pool and big, beautiful trees all around it. But those trees would cast a shadow, and it just played on my psyche. I mean, gave me so much anxiety just swimming in that pool. There would have to be 3 or 4 people in there for me to not just be terrified.
Yeah, I'll have to send you this. There's like a thing on Facebook where it was like my childhood fear, and it was the ending of Jaws taking place in a pool. And I was like, yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm real excited about this Jurassic World Rebirth. That's man, finally seeing that river scene's going to make its way in. All my friends that ever saw the movie, typically they don't read the book, but I'm like, man, y'all need to read the book, or at least listen to it audio or something. And because the book is so much better than the movie, and it actually kind of scare you when you read it a little, you can take your mind in places, and which it's tough to translate a book like that to film, but boy, they sure did a good job. And I'm real excited about this next one. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think having Michael Crane on board really helped with the translation. But yeah, this is the first time I've been this excited, I think, since Jurassic Park 3. Yeah. Like even Jurassic World, I was like tentatively excited. But like maybe I shouldn't be this excited. I'm kind of nervous at this point, but I'm like, it looks really good. Like it's filmed on film. Like the dinosaurs look good. We got the raft scene. We got a little bit of the Lost World book, which is totally different than the movie.
Yep.
So I'm excited. Yeah.
Man, I remember just that feeling when the first one came out, and there's McDonald's, Happy Meal, they're doing the promotion with that. And the movie felt so important and felt so great. Like it was just the biggest thing there was. And you get so excited. You think, man, I'm like, you're about to see real dinosaurs. And I'd never seen anything like that on film, anything ever. It was, I mean, earth shattering, just a monumental moment. And, in film and everything, and we're pretty lucky to get to kind of experience that. And it's always better on the big screen, I'd watch it on my phone, but boy, there's something about being in a massive theater to see this. I can't wait. I'm going to see it on the biggest screen I can. And, if we can do it XD or 3D, whatever, they jump out and bite you on the ass, I'll do that too.
Right. Yeah. No, we had a little bit of conflict of travel because we go to Roswell the next day we leave, and it's like a 9-hour trip for us. And I was like,
Yeah.
nope, we're going. Like, I have not missed an opening night with Jurassic Park.
Mhm.
I am not missing it now. Like, we'll be there. Well, we're on movies though. What's your favorite Billy movie? Or a couple favorite?
Yeah, it's tough to pick just one. One that a lot of people don't really think about is John Wayne's Chisholm. There's some nostalgic feeling to that for me. And just, as a kid, it was just neat to see the character of Billy the Kid in that movie. But my first, encounter with it was Young Guns. And I think between my dad and my Uncle Butch, that thing probably stayed in the VCR for a year and a half, 2 years, and just rewind, watch it. And, at that age, I'm like, well, you kind of realize, well, that was a real person and this and that. And it started right there for real. And, but yeah, the John Wayne's Chisholm, Young Guns, I enjoyed The Kid a lot. I enjoyed Old Henry, but I kind of enjoy them all, but for different reasons. There's just little things I like about all my. I still don't think we've ever seen a true portrayal or telling of the story. Somehow, some way, it gets Hollywooded up, and something gets changed. And yeah, I kind of have a hard time watching the series, the Billy the Kid series, just because some of the changes they make to it it just kills me, and I can't get over it, and I want to watch it and I want to enjoy it, but the whole time I'm sitting there going, why, so I kind of lose the enjoyment factor of it. But I guess that's kind of my own fault. It's like being a referee for football. I can't look at it the same no more.
Yeah. No, the Billy the Kid series, when I learned they killed Joe off, I was like, I can't. Because I was like, Joe was like super old when he died. Like, and he died here in Colorado. Like, that's the coolest thing for us. It was like, when I remember when I was reading, it was Michael Wallace's The Endless Ride.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going into Denver, and just, Joe lived and died here. And that's when I started researching that topic. And that was super cool for me. So when I was like, they killed him off, like, why? Why did you need to kill off Joe? I mean, hey, if it gets more people excited and into Billy, I'm fine with it. But it's just not for me,
Yeah, and that's the silver lining for it all. I'm really excited about Young Guns 3, but I also know exactly what it's going to be about. And I feel like I spend the majority of my life since I've seen the light, so to speak, debunking Brushy Bill. And, it's part of the legend now. I don't think you can encounter Billy the Kid without encountering Brushy Bill and research at this point. I think the movie will be great. It'll be like Forrest Gump. Apparently they're going to make 2 or 3 more of them. And this first one, he's going to be down in Mexico with Pancho Villa, living his Forrest Gump life, doing all these crazy things. It'd be a great movie, but in no way, shape, form, or fashion historically accurate. So in a weird way, it might help me even enjoy it more because I already can go into it knowing it's hogwash. But it'll create a whole new army of Brushy believers. And but kind of like what you said for the series, there at least more people are getting interested in this, and of all those people, there's going to be a good majority who want to know more and are going to figure it out just like we did. And that's good for that, because who knows who will come out of that can help preserve all this and and be an asset to the team, so to speak.
I just want you to know you said Brushy, so you're gonna get so many comments on this video about him now. We have a couple that just go watch our Billy videos to comment about Brushy. I was like, hey, I'm fine. It gives us views.
Nobody wanted Billy the Kid to be Brushy Bill more than myself. And I wanted it to be true. I wanted him to escape and all these things to be true. I wanted it so bad. But I'm also a realist. And when I see it black and white right in front of me, and you don't have to look too hard to just blow that argument into pieces. And, same thing. I watched Young Guns 2. I had no idea who Brushy Bill Roberts was. And so it just kind of started this interest, and that's what brought me to it. And so, whatever it takes to get you here, just you hope they, they find their way, and don't try not to be super close minded. Everybody's on their historical educational journey, and everybody's kind of at a different point with that. So, it is what it is, but, I enjoy it all. The legend is fun too. So,
yeah, no, that's like with me, because our family is related to the Jameses. So we know how that went, and we know Brushy kind of intertwined with that story as well with J. Frank Dalton. But there's a book, it's called Shot in the Back, and it's about a fictional story about J. Frank Dalton and like his like fictional son. And I really enjoyed it. Obviously fictional 100% because J. Frank Dalton's feet were too big for Jesse's boots. But there's some fun you can have in it. It's okay. We watch movies and stuff, and it just because it's not real doesn't mean it can't be entertaining, right?
Right. Yep. Tall Tales kind of shaped the Old West in a lot of ways. So, it all kind of goes hand in hand, and, it does make it fun, and it's fun to do the research. It's fun to figure out for yourself. And it's so nice now that we have so many people and surrounding us that can, really help you on that journey, and with cutting edge developments. It's I've learned more in the last year or so from y'all and from the coalition and all the guys than I've learned in, my whole life. And so it's every day is an adventure, and you never know what that next message is going to bring. So it's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. No, as much as I think sometimes the internet is a little too much, it has helped 100%. Because we can go through so much more documents now. Like back in the day, I mean, we're old enough, me and Sam now, like go back, you find the index cards, and you go find out where those are, and you're flipping through the newspapers. Now you just search Billy the Kid, and it pops up whatever results you can, and it's amazing. It makes research so much more. One thing, and I'll fill you in, because I think we've talked about it. Me and Sam this summer, outside of all the other stuff we're trying to do, we're working on the Colorado Billies, because there's a couple Billy the Kids that were outlaws here that we're going to talk about. And one of them was a McCarty. His last name was McCarty. Yeah, his dad was Bill. So kind of weird.
Neat.
And I was like, it's kind of fun to touch upon some of these, because maybe that's where some of the Brushy lore comes from, is like these other Billy the Kids. It's just kind of fun. There's the one in Kansas too, I think.
Yep. And if it's fun, it's worth enjoying, so, good stuff. It something that's captivated all of us. I think the generation before us, hopefully more generations to come. And, but I think, like I say, regardless, as long as there's content, regarding this subject, no matter what it's covering, at least it's generating interest, and nothing but good can come from that.
Hey, what is it? Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Any publicity is good publicity.
Good,
right?
good publicity.
So, you talked about going to Lincoln. What's one site that you're really excited to check out there?
I think the main thing's the courthouse for me. Just being in that courthouse, and I've watched every video you can find on YouTube and looked at every map of it laid out. But I think there's just something of taking that walk yourself that he, that little journey he made from outside. And that's just, there's something about that, I kind of look forward to, seeing it, smelling it, just being there and letting your mind go there. And I think that's one of the things that's so great about New Mexico is so much of it's just absolutely untouched. And so you don't have to try too hard to visualize what was happening, and to see the struggle of just getting from here to there, a totally different world, a lot of the same, but totally different. And human nature hadn't really changed. So it's pretty easy to see some of how these scenarios played out in these places. From just going from Stinking Springs out to Puerto de Luna, it takes us 30 minutes or something. It took them 3 days, so it's a different world, but it's still kind of the same. And you can dang near still see their footprints. And, Josh talking about Coyote Springs and them being out there, and, the corral post still being standing, and where they found that where the horse died in that shootout, and there lays his bridle and the shoes that were on his hooves. That's pretty cool because, nobody's been there. Since then, it's just untouched. And talking about even Stinking Springs, how that the horse they shot dead in the doorway, that a skeleton laid there for ages. It's just nobody. It's rough country, and I remember saying to Josh and Jeremiah, like, man, I sure hope it doesn't end up like Texas where, everything's getting sold off. These beautiful pastures are turning into neighborhoods, or they have solar panels for 100 acres. It's ruining everything. And I said, I just really hope that doesn't happen out here and just ends up being some neighborhood in the middle of nothing. They were kind of like, I wouldn't worry about that. New Mexico is the second poorest state in the country. And so I don't think anybody's just, bending over, trying to leave and go build cul-de-sacs out there or whatever, neighborhoods. But so hopefully it stays the way it is. And I think that's part of the allure for me, because, you just dream about these things forever, and you put your eyes on it, and it's not like looking at a skyline or some town that was an old West town with dirt streets, but now it's a metropolis. You can look out there and, I could really, like say, Puerto de Luna, stopping and looking, and you're like, this hasn't changed. And not just since the 1870s, 1880s, but probably from the 70s. I mean, it's been like this forever,
Right.
So that's just really cool to me.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree there with just like a good comparison for us is like Lincoln, or like you said, Puerto de Luna, versus like when we did our Tesla lab, where the Nikola Tesla lab was in the Springs. It's just a neighborhood now. And it's kind of like a best guess estimate. Luckily, the Hills there, the School of Deaf and Blind's there, and the printer press is there. But yeah, it's just like, oh, it's kind of a bummer that more of it wasn't saved, Here's a question. Was Pat Garrett the most important person in New Mexico history? And the reason I ask is he gave them Billy the Kid. He was killed by Brazel, or at least Brazel was there, and then, Brazel's nephew finds the Roswell UFO, and he helps found Capitan, where Smokey the Bear comes from. So is Pat Garrett New Mexico's most important person?
I think he's one of two, and already know who the other is. I think you can't have one without the other in the history of New Mexico. And I think how everything unfolded, I think it was a lot simpler than we all want to make it what it was. I think just kind of happenstance, and sometimes things happen, and I think without Billy the Kid, Pat Garrett wouldn't be Pat Garrett, and without Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid wouldn't be Billy the Kid. And I just can't think of one without the other, and I think if Pat Garrett was the be all end all, I could think about him, and Billy would be a close second, but no, it's neck and neck. With Billy pulling ahead at the finish.
I mean, he definitely gets more books and stuff. So I mean, if that's a sign of what, I often like to think like, what would have happened to Billy had he been able to just go like straight, you know? Like had he just gone to Tunsil's work there and the war hadn't happened,
Yeah.
would we have even heard of him? You know, it's
It
a
would, it would,
fascinating kind of thing.
yeah, it would have been an interesting tale, just like 100,000 other cowboys' lives that they lived, working cows and working a ranch. And, um, that's a hard, very kind of unrewarding job, unappreciated job. And unless you were doing something larger than life, a lot of everybody just kind of blended in together. And so I think had he not been in that situation, I think he probably would have just been an average, regular cowhand. Probably had break some horses here and there, but just work cows and doing the cowboy stuff. So, but
Right.
didn't go that way.
I mean, I always kind of look at Joe, Billy's brother, kind of a good example where maybe he would have gone. Like no one really talks about Joe, and he kind of just lived. I mean, he had some adventures and some runs in with people,
Right.
but let's get to another topic because like I said, you do a lot of cool things. Me and Sam, there's one thing we enjoy is wrestling. We've taken people in full gear out to different places. We've flown to like New York to go to Mania or the Block
Mhm.
Party by Bullet Club. But talk to us about your, involvement in a wrestling company.
Man, when I was 8 or 9 years old, my dad took me to Saturday night's main event in Austin, Texas. I saw Hulk Hogan, and I was hooked. Before that, I remember my grandma and my dad ordered the WrestleMania 6 pay-per-view, Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. And I guess I was already a little Hulkamaniac before that. And I remember kind of liking the Warrior until Warrior beat him. And then that drew a line in the sand for me, and it broke my heart. And I remember my dad, I was crying, I'm a little kid. And my dad's like, what the hell, like, you're supposed to love this. Like, it's the first time wrestling ever broke my heart. And I didn't understand the business then, obviously, but it started kind of right there, and I just probably liked it a lot more than everybody else growing up. When you're younger, your buddies, everybody loves it, and then eventually, typically, most of them grow out of it. Uh, that never happened for me. Um, I knew at 8 years old what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be and what I wanted to be a part of. I didn't know how that was going to happen. I I didn't know what you were supposed to do, but I knew I was going to figure it out. And in 2004, I think, I went to Waxahachie, Texas, right outside of Dallas, and I trained with Killer Tim Brooks, who was a big heel during the World Class Championship Wrestling days against the Von Erichs and all that cast of characters there. And so, I started my training with him and learning. I was with him for about 6 months. I eventually ended up coaching college football in Alabama. And so that took me out there. But when I come back, I went full time professional wrestling in 2012. And I took over which at that point in time, it was a new school federation. Then we just changed, joined the National Wrestling Alliance and became NWA 360. Uh, for a year or so, we ran that company really hard here in my hometown. And then I took a job at Main Event Pro Wrestling as the general manager, uh, the real general manager, not a character on TV. Um, and I got to work with a lot of people that were a lot smarter than myself. And I tried to just learn everything I could. Uh, you're here and there, different companies. I was out in Louisiana for a good spell, kind of just the Arklatex there, East Texas and Arkansas, Louisiana. And then after a whole bunch of years, 12 years, 13 years, I think, I came home. My wife and I did. And, kind of in a position where I was like, I can bring a pretty good wrestling show to town here at home if I want to. And I didn't really want to do it too much because we rodeo a whole lot and we don't have too much free time already. And well, I thought, well, I'll run a couple events a year and that'll be all right. Cause it's a lot of work and kind of one of them things you can have a team around you. But at the end of the day, if you're not guiding that team and putting in the effort and guiding the ship, it can all get complicated. So I thought maybe 2 shows a year. Well, right now we're, in 12 months, getting close to 30. And we're probably, I say probably, we're the number one touring wrestling company in Texas easily. Booker T and has Reality of Wrestling in Houston. They're a stationary company that do great things. We're kind of that same thing, but we're on the road. I tell everybody we're pretty much the equivalent of the Division I college football version of pro wrestling. We're the last place you go before you sign the big contract, and typically we're the first place you would come when that time would be over. So
yeah, no, very cool. Wrestling, I mean, I remember as far as I can remember, really, watching it. One of the first memories I have was the Mankind Undertaker Buried Alive match, where man, and then the hand comes out and just so good. Yeah, back then you're just like, man, Mankind just killed that guy.
I remember being scared of the Undertaker. I remember my dad would get me the WWF magazines, and there was one particular issue that had the Undertaker on the front, and I would flip it over where I couldn't see him. He scared me that much as a kid, and that's pretty neat. Yeah, that's one of the cool things that I get to experience is meeting a lot of new people, and everybody has a memory from wrestling, whether they watched it with their grandpa, their grandma, mom, dad, their brother, whoever. Everybody has some kind of positive memory of professional wrestling, and depending on where you are in the country, you can tell who had the impact. When I was coaching football in Alabama, that was Ric Flair country. And so if I was trying to rile up my football team in a pep rally or what, in a meeting or something, they didn't cheer like you would cheer at a concert or something. They all went, woo. And that's just ingrained in their culture there. That's who they grew up with Sting and with Flair. You come here to Texas, and this was either world-class championship wrestling, the Von Erichs and the Sportatorium, or it's Hulk Hogan. They kind of had the hold on this market. So, or WWF. And, but no, it's really cool to hear everybody's connection to it. Professional wrestling, I'll explain it as, we're not like football or basketball. Those are all great sports. I like all those, but professional wrestling is a little bit different. We're kind of like the unicorn of sports. And to me, I've been a part of college football and professional football, professional rodeo. I've seen every kind of athlete. I was a strength coach in college for soccer, baseball. I mean, you name it, I've kind of had my hands on it. And I think professional wrestling is probably the toughest thing you can really do because number one, it's live action, no cuts, no edits. If you mess up, everyone knows and will let you know that you did. You have to be in shape. You have to look a certain way. I mean, it's the most critical profession I think a person can be in because you just get criticized over everything. Oh, he's a little, he's got a 6-pack, not an 8-pack now. What a loser. And the stuff we hear is just ridiculous. But that's the kind of scrutiny that they stay under. And so you're like a live action stuntman. And the beautiful part of that is, as kids, we all love superheroes, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. When we'd see them in the theaters, you don't ever get to meet them. But to these kids, Will Allday, he is Superman. Damo, my heavyweight champion, he's Batman. Super Tex, he's Spider-Man or whatever. You get the picture. And but they get to see these guys. They get to meet them. They get to talk to them, take a picture with them. We let the kids get in the ring and take pictures with the champion. I never got to even see or touch a ring till I went to wrestling training. Never even been close enough to touch one. So the ring is a character of its own, and these kids get close to it, and I just watch magical things happening. It inspired me to do a lot, and I was no different than these kids. None at all. I was one of them. So I watch amazing things happen with it. So I have a different connection with it. We fight an uphill battle over professional wrestling and being an ambassador for it, because we see a lot of preconceived notions. And maybe the professional wrestling they were exposed to was garbage, because there's a lot of garbage. There's a lot of pro wrestling out here, and some of it's way down here. And then some of what we do is way up here. So if they grew up seeing nonsense, I get why the parents don't care for it. We're more of a morality play that showcases the very, very best, not just in Texas, but all over the country and all over the world, from the up and comers to the legends that headlined WrestleMania. We're a pretty vast, extensive roster at 360 Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that certain wrestling may have stigmatized the industry. The Attitude Era definitely had some portions that definitely gave it a stigma. But also kind of going back to both like stories of wrestling, but also like meeting these heroes. I can give you a story here. We went to the first Raw, Monday Night Raw, that was in Denver. And it was at the Coliseum, which is kind of like where the National Western will hold, or was holding their stuff. They're building a new complex now. And then after we went to eat, and it was me, my dad, his friend, and my buddy Nathan. And me and Nathan were like, I don't know, 8, 9 years old. Huge wrestling. Like, we had the trampoline, we're doing flips, all that kind of stuff. And we go into this Applebee's, and there's the wrestlers there. And we ended up getting to meet them. It was Triple H, Road Dogg, Jericho, Edge and Christian, the Hardys. And like, even to this day, I just remember just being in awe, like how big Triple H's back was. Or like, and they were all so nice. Like, they took time, they were signing stuff, they were playing with our wrestling. Because like Edge and Christian were like 20, I think, at that time. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, super nice guys, super hardworking guys. I mean, you see it. Like, who are some up and comers you think will be in some people's minds here in the near future?
We have a guy on our roster. His name is Will Allday. He's the real Texas heavyweight champion, the title belt that has lineage back to Dallas, Texas, and the Von Erichs, and even way further back than that. He's the real Texas heavyweight champion. He's been that champion for over a year. Greatest athlete in professional wrestling right now. There's just nothing he can't do. We have a whole roster full of the next generation. My heavyweight champion, the 360 Pro heavyweight champion, is the top hand, Damo McCullough, a cowboy, but probably the most genuine article version of a cowboy that's ever been in professional wrestling. Like, if you took Razor Ramon and John Wayne and mixed them together, that's what you get. And kind of another example of a Stan Hansen or even a JBL. So kind of the next coming to that, I mean, gosh, honestly, all of my guys, I cherry pick the very, very best. And so the talent you see at a 360 Pro Wrestling live event, I mean, you could tune in to Monday Night Raw the next week and see the same person get signed. That's part of where we're at with it. We can have these great talents, and ultimately you're going to lose them to WWE or AEW or New Japan or whatever the case may be. And you want that for them, but it's a little bittersweet for the home team because it's like losing your quarterback or that's been there and been an All-American for you all 4 years. So you want to see him go off to the pros and do really great things, but you also have the reality of, okay, I've got to replace this first stringer I just lost. So a good wrestling story though. I got to see Steve Austin 2 weeks before he won the WWF Championship from Shawn Michaels, and in Waco, Texas. And we were about 12 rows from the ring, and still to this day, it's the loudest noise I've ever heard in my life. That when they say blowing the roof off a building, you can really visualize that with how loud that was. But in the same building, years later, after I trained and done all that, I went and with a couple buddies. We had his father-in-law got us had tickets to a WWE house show, and that night we went, and the main event was supposed to be the Generation X versus like Randy Orton and Edge or something. And so when we get there, they come over the intercom, Tony Schimmel or whatever, and he, ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that tonight's main event featuring D-Generation X will not happen due to D-Generation X's prior obligations for SmackDown. So tonight, the main event will be JBL versus Finley in like a street fight. And we're all like, man, that's cool. It's still a great match, but you go, you want to see D-Generation X. But anywho, well, JBL and Finley went out there and tore the house down. I mean, to this day, I remember how great that match was. And I was like, man, they did incredible. They fought all over the heart of Texas Coliseum. And then once they were done, the house lights kind of come up and people are leaving. As soon as the 1, 2, 3 ding ding, people are leaving. It's thousands and thousands of people. And I bet 250, 300 people had left that building. And then all of a sudden, Tony Schimmel comes back on the microphone. And he goes, ladies and gentlemen, I've just been given word we're going to have a special tag team attraction scheduled for one fall. Are you ready? Boom, boom. And the lights went down and started going, and people are just sprinting back to their seats, falling over everybody. And it was one of the coolest things said, how wide Triple H's back was. That's what kind of reminded me of that, because I remember that's the first time I'd ever seen him up close like that. And stand on the side of the ring during that tag match, and his back was just like television did it no justice. So this is a large human being. So that's how I felt meeting JBL. That's a large man, and I'm not a small man, but he makes me feel like a 10-year-old next to him, But man, so many great moments, and there's so many cool things storytelling wise that you can do in pro wrestling. And little tricks like they pulled that night, to the people that stuck around, they got a treat, an unexpected treat. For those that left, they learned a lesson. That'll teach you to run off and try to beat the traffic out of the parking lot. So it so much cool stuff in wrestling, and the ability that it has to inspire kids is just unparalleled.
Yeah, see, I'm always, I think, a little drawn to villains and heels because I don't know why, but it's so hard, I think, in the wrestling industry. I mean, it's kind of easy, but you're doing all these like really cool looking moves and stuff. Like Randy Orton's such a good heel, but the RKO is so smooth and so nice.
Yep.
And like Jericho's he's such a good heel, but he does all these really cool moves, and you're just like, man, that's so cool. But they just do the job so well.
Yeah. The shades of gray definitely shine through, and I think since the time of like Steve Austin, the anti-hero, the heels started becoming the baby faces, and that time with Bret Hart and Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13, when all that was kind of happening, switching roles like that in one night. I think that a real cool example of the wrestling business and how it evolves. Like now, it's real easy to critique a lot of it, because I see an awful lot of it. But the further along you get, you realize that it's not so much about the moves. It's about what you do in between the moves and how you connect with the people emotionally, and you can make them care. And I'm sitting there, I'll be watching Damo or Will Alday in trouble with another wrestler and reaching for those kids, and they've got tears in their eyes. They believe in it so much, and that's how strong that connection is. And so, like I say, in the beginning when I got in, it was like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to do this move or that, or I want to look cool walking out this entrance, where you get to a point where you want to just tell really great stories that are captivating and that bring people back, that will help grow the audience and make new wrestling fans, not just cater to the ones that are here already.
Yeah, like great matches will stick with you. What's a match for you that really stuck with you all these years?
Early on, Hogan and Warrior, that was the first one I personally experienced as a kid that felt huge. Like I could feel the magnitude of it. I was alive during WrestleMania 3. I was like 5 years old. I don't really have memories, but my first memories involved Hulk Hogan. So Hulk Hogan and ooh, yeah, the Macho Man. And
I love the Macho Man.
oh yeah, through the years now, when I was a kid, the first time I ever saw wrestling was at my cousin's house, and he had the Hulk Hogan LJN, he had the Macho Man Randy Savage LJN, big rubber ones, and he had a VHS, like WWF Super Tape or something. And I wanted to be Hulk Hogan. Well, he wanted to be Hulk Hogan. He forced me to be the Macho Man. Well, it kind of turned around. Now as an adult, I can really, really appreciate Randy Savage and what he brought to the table. He was incredible. Other than that, though, the match that I remember I remember Starrcade 1997 with Hogan and Sting. That one sticks out to me. I wanted to see that so bad, and we didn't have pay-per-view, and we lived out in the country, and so it wasn't readily available to our rabbit ear antennas. And but the other one was Hogan and The Rock. That
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 18. That was a magical moment, a magical time in the business that doesn't happen very often, that I have to rank up there with Hogan and Andre in historical value.
Yeah, see, for me, if I had to pick like a handful, one would have to be like the Taker Mankind Hell in a Cell match. Just so much carnage in that match. It was insane. TLC too. Also, just like the chemistry between the three teams, amazing. And then like going a little bit new school maybe, but New Japan, you mentioned them. So AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, just that Wrestle Kingdom match. It's so real. I know Sam, I forced him to watch it like 3 or 4 times at this point. But
I wouldn't say it was forced, but
another match I really remember was from TNA, and they would have the Ultimate X matches. And I remember being so impressed with AJ Styles there in TNA, with Petey Williams and Chris Sabin. Matt Bentley, who is Shawn Michaels' nephew, wrestled as Michael Shane, but he at a glance looked like Shawn in the ring. They kind of had to change his gear up a little bit because it was, you had to do a double take. But back then, those Ultimate X matches, I'd never seen anything like that. Definitely never seen a 6-sided ring. And the things that AJ Styles was doing had never been done before. Never seen anybody do some of this stuff. And Petey Williams with that Canadian Destroyer, how he did, it just, that had never been seen before. Now they do it twice in the first minute of the match, and pop right back up, kick out at one. The art of storytelling kind of gets lost at times, but just that really stands out to me too. You see so much wrestling, and I've always tried to be a student of the game and learn. And same way with Billy, everything you can kind of get your hands on to learn with, you want to. Watching VHS tapes growing up, magazines, all the stuff. Now it's a lot easier because of being able to pull it up on Peacock or whatever and look back on stuff. But the business has really just repeats itself over and over. So you can really learn a lot by looking back, and I wish more people would do that.
Yeah, you mentioned TNA, and it made me remind myself of there was a Kurt Angle, Mr. Anderson or Kennedy match where they're in a cage, and it was all built up about the military and these tags, and it was so good. Like TNA back in the day, I know they're kind of getting back there, but they had some really, really good matches. Like they
Yes.
gave WWF/E a run for its money for a while there.
Yeah, I'll give you a little breaking news for us. This coming month, we have an event this Saturday in Temple Strong with JBL, Charlie Haas, a lot of guys like that. That Monday, the following Monday, we will release our poster for our Big Spring show out in West Texas for August 23rd, where we have the TNA X Division champion Moose going to be at the show with us.
Really?
Yeah. Among others, APA, Ron Simmons, JBL, Hammerstone. Not sure how much y'all follow of like MLW and stuff like that.
I know who he is.
Yeah. Luke Hawks out of New Orleans has Wildcat Sports, but he's also an A-list Hollywood stuntman. You remember the movie Logan?
Mm-hmm.
Logan killed one of the kills he did. There's a bald guy and he did the claws up through his head and they come out neck. They went out the top of his head. Well, that was Luke Hawks in Fast, Fate, and Furious. I don't know, number 6 or 8 or 18. There've been a bunch of them made. He fights The Rock in prison. And he was the stunt coordinator for the Iron Claw movie. So he's a real deal A-list Hollywood stuntman. Also has an incredible wrestling company there in New Orleans, Wildcat Sports, that's just top notch. He's going to come out there for us as well. We just keep growing and going. That's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I've been a big fan of Moose for a long time now. Like, and it's so like the whole thing of Moose, like it's so catchy, but it's so simple, and I love it. I love it. And he's a good in-ring performer. Yeah, no, Iron Claw. We have to bring you back on at some point to talk that movie, because really, really good job. I know Efron has had his moments early on, but I think some of his dramatic roles, like in that one or Ted Bundy, fantastic. He does a good job.
Right. It was a really good movie. I thought one of the best wrestling movies ever. We had a lot of friends, a lot of guys on our roster actually that were in the movie, and a few of them had pretty big roles in. And that was a lot of that thanks to Luke being the coordinator for that, and just having availability of all these great talents. And I thought they did a great job with the movie. Still had to kind of change a little bit. They pushed 2 of the brothers together, and from what I understand, they just, that was just going to be too much death, which I get, because there was a lot of it during that time. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a very tragic story. And I mean, there's a lot of them in early days. I mean, still today. But yeah, early days wrestling, lots of tragic stories. How was his name? Not Magnum, but TA. Who, had that car accident. Mm-hmm. And he probably would have been one of the next big names for sure.
Yeah, Magnum TA, he was the man. He was the man at that time. He really was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's too bad we didn't get more from him. At some point, whenever I bring myself to finish our ghost book, because we're writing a biography about ourselves, I have a trilogy of wrestling books I've been writing for a while. So I'll have to send them to you before I publish them.
Oh, sure.
Just to get your critiques and stuff. But besides wrestling, you do rodeo, which is another thing me and Sam enjoy. We go to a lot of the ones here. Tell us a little bit about rodeo business.
I grew up riding bulls. That was kind of my thing as a kid. And so I competed in the bull riding for about 15 years. And in 2006, I got hurt really bad. And it was the last bull I ever got on. For a month or so before that, I'd kind of started playing around announcing, I didn't even know how to work a sound system or nothing. I just, as new and brand new as you could be to that role, I was. And when I got hurt, I just kind of, been around this stuff my whole life and just wasn't ready to not be around it, and still wanted to be involved and contribute. And so I started that journey as an announcer, and I sucked. I was the worst. It was bad. And, but, in this type of stuff, you put yourself out there, and you just keep persevering and moving forward. And, I might have a night where I was embarrassed, or this happened or that happened, or this speaker broke, and I've had every embarrassing scenario that can happen. I feel like I've experienced it at this point. But you learn from all those types of things, and then next thing you know, like, you have backups for backup on this and that, and you just don't want to find yourself in that position anymore. And becoming a rodeo announcer is pretty tough. There's a lot of guys that do it. There's not very many that do it well, and the ones that do stay pretty busy. And we're fortunate enough to pay our bills with it. We rodeo and do pro wrestling for a living in my household. So it's taken a long time to get to that point. It's not easy, but I'm so thankful for it now, and I've done everything under the sun you can do, every job from concrete to changing rat tubs at the Petco Pet Farm ranch, and just hating life every day. And, that's no way to live life. And if you can find anything you love or are passionate about, and you can make a living at it, you'll never work a day in your life, and now sometimes it gets, it feels like work because it is, but you remind yourself how lucky you are. And it could always be a lot worse. You could be digging ditches 60 hours a week. So, yeah, one of the deals now, I've got to a point with it where I'm kind of the same way with wrestling. I'm surrounded by the greats. And so right time, right person, right attitude, I think, and being consistent, not disappearing, don't ever disappear, always be available. And we're getting there, and it's a lot of fun. It keeps everything interesting. But it is tough because it's really dangerous, and it's tough to see your friends get hurt sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's a very dangerous business, but some really fantastic athletes, both obviously the people, but the animals as well, be it horses or bulls. Just like, it's amazing to go out there. I mean, when we watch it, sometimes we'll have some of the bigger names, but even like just like the locals, like, man, they put on a show. It's insane, like the thing they're able to do. And I know it's like 8 seconds, but it's a long, long time when you're up there, right?
It feels like 8 minutes when you're up there. They're some of the strongest animals, or strongest animal athletes on the earth. It's like jumping on the back of a water buffalo or a rhinoceros, kind of. It's like riding a dinosaur, and they're deceivingly strong. And you have people that'll get on a bucking machine or whatever, and that bucking machine sits there and do that. But what they don't realize is on that bull's moving forward every time. So he's moving out from underneath you. So you got to keep getting in front of him to get ahead of his momentum. Well, oh yeah, guess what? There's big horns up there, so you ride a fine line. There's an area about that wide where they have zero power. And so typically the smaller, skinnier guys are able to ride them a lot better. I'm a larger guy, football guy, so I got too big. I think that was my problem. But when I was a little kid, I did okay.
There's a couple of documentaries we've kind of touched upon. I don't know if you've seen them. One was on the Feek 2 courses, and then Casey Tibbs. I think it was like Painted Horses was his. Some really intriguing stories. Obviously, Casey Tibbs, big in the pro rodeo stuff as well. Is there any like people that really stuck out to you doing rodeo that you looked up to?
Growing up, Lane Frost, Tuff Edeman, Norman Curry, Jim Sharp, this kind of the world champions, the greats. They became superstars. And where I'm at right here in Central Texas, it's kind of the mecca for a lot of this. So I got exposed to just the greats at an early age, and they became superstars. And just like Hulk Hogan or Superman, like we looked at those guys the same way. And so those were the main ones. You look up to all those guys. You want to be like that when you're a little kid riding bulls. You want to be the world champion. And unfortunately, not everybody achieves that, but I've seen a whole bunch of my friends make it and do it. So you never know which one's going to be the next one. It could be any of them. So.
Right. Yeah, we've had a couple. Oh, what was his name? Was it Ty Murray? I don't know. It might have been Ty. I'd have to get the book. Might have been Ty Murray. Don't quote me on that. But one of them, his uncle, I believe, owned one. It's called Bud's Bar. It's in Sedalia.
Mm-hmm.
It's a just a little hamburger joint, and so he'd stop in, I guess, pretty often. So he became like kind of the Colorado fan favorite for rodeo and stuff like that.
Yeah, we consider him the king of the cowboys here. He was I believe 7-time all-around champion, world champion, which he competed in the bronc riding, the saddle bronc riding, the bull riding, and that's tough to do throughout the year. It really beats your body up. So that's a tough man. When he's younger, you get older, not as easy. But he's one of the trailblazers that has made the sport what it is today, and allowed a lot of these guys to make the money that they're making.
I'm trying to do a quick fact check, Sam, while I'm fact checking myself before I let people think I'm just quoting things. Do you have anything that you want to talk about?
What was your longest time on the back of a bull?
Oh gosh, I mean, you're trying to ride them 8 seconds, but sometimes you end up having to stay a little longer if they stop. You don't want to hop off of one if they stop. Sometimes you're just kind of hemmed up on the fence. You can't get off. You get hurt. I don't know. Try to ride them 8 seconds. I probably ride a few 20, 15, 20 sometimes. But a lot of the times gravity takes care of all that for you, and you can't even make 8 seconds. Sometimes it's hard to make 2 seconds on them. So they're incredible animal athletes. They're anywhere from 1,500 to 2,200 pounds. And they can jump 6 foot in the air, and it's incredible what they're capable of.
Oh yeah, I've always admired it. Anytime I've went to the one here in what used to be a small town, but in Castle Rock, always watching those and like visiting the 4-H's there and knowing a couple of the people there. Like it's always amazing. I always liked watching those. Then they did the caged motorcycle shows, and I always thought that was kind of wild too. It was just like that's adding like a couple sketchy things, and you have like 2 or 3 bikes in there, and you're like, man, this could go real bad real quick.
Oh, I've seen for the longest they do like bull poker, or they make you sit out there at a table, and the last one to leave the table with the bull out there would win, or they take baby powder and make a bunch of circles, and the last one to leave their circle, like a Mr. Beast episode or something. And I've seen some folks get demolished out there. It's real dangerous, and in all reality, these bulls, they'll hurt you permanently, and they can end your life and in the blink of an eye. So I've seen good friends that were incredibly athletic, had the tiger by the tail in life, so to speak, and end up paralyzed, where 1 second you're standing on the back of the bucking chutes talking about what you're going to do after the event, and then fast forward 3 or 4 minutes and he's paralyzed from the neck down. So I've seen 13-year-old kids have to get hurt and riding steers, and their face turns white and their lips turn purple, and they have to medevac them out on a helicopter, and then you don't ever hear if that kid made it or not. So it's a risk reward situation, but in a lot of places, especially here in Texas, like a lot of people grow up playing soccer or t-ball. We do all those things too, but we also grow up rodeoing, and it's just a natural way of life. So just one of them things. I don't think everybody's just itching to climb on the back of one. Now we do have bull riding schools here, and right down the street from my house, or right down the road here, where we do train up and coming bull riders. So we have every level of bull from beginner to advanced pro. And so anybody that wants to experience it safely, we have that option for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, like you said, things can happen. My uncle used to do bowls, and one, the horn like caught him right here and ripped his nose off. And so my grandma apparently just looked over and his nose is like hanging off, and she's like, "No more bowls."
Yep. The same thing. I've had my face split wide open, my nose hanging off my face right there. I can't tell which side. I got a scar on one of these sides where it was just kind of had a ball replacement in this shoulder. Got hurt real bad. The last bowl I got on just crushed all this. I waited 6 years to get it fixed. And those 6 years had over 200 dislocations and ended up having to have a ball replacement. So yeah, they'll hurt you permanently. I was stomped all over my body, been knocked out. Just it's really dangerous, and it's just one of them things. You do it long enough. It's not if you get hurt, it's when and how bad.
Yeah, so I looked, and I wasn't wrong. It was Ty Murray.
Yep, that's him.
Yep, back in his day. Yeah, I guess he'd come down and hang out there all the time. I don't know if he still does. His uncle, I think, since passed, but kind of cool little local story. Well, you're also obviously in Texas. There's a pretty big sport, college football. Friday Night Lights, obviously. High school football, really big. What's the football scene down there right now?
Oh, there's two things most of the time that happen in these towns. It's football and football. So it's like a religion down here, or football and spring football, I guess I should say. But on a Friday night, it kind of starts on Thursdays when the JV will be playing, but you'll just see off in the distance multiple stadiums lit up. I mean, that's what we do here in Texas. It's football and it's rodeo, and professional wrestling too, luckily. But yeah, football is king in Texas, and not just high school. These little kids playing peewee. It's serious business, and a lot of these programs will start implementing their plays and everything at 7th grade. And if they keep that head coach at the high school, these kids are so ready for that level when they get there. They've been running these same plays for all this time, and so it's very, very competitive. And I think all in the South, I've experienced football in pretty much every state, Southern U.S., and it's pretty serious everywhere. But I'm going to tell you what, there's a mystique to it in Texas.
Yeah, and obviously Texas usually there in the Final Four at some point in college. And this year, they got Arch Manning. You think they're going to go pretty far this year?
I want to see them go far every year. I grew up a Longhorn. We had one Aggie in our family, and we ridiculed her my whole life. And then now as an adult, you gave me the choice to live in College Station or Austin. I'd live in College Station. So funny how that all turns around on you. But yeah, I love seeing them do good. And at this point, any Texas team, I just want to see them do well. The SEC is real-time football. I got real up close and personal with it during my time coaching out there in Alabama. So I just had no idea. I grew up Big 12, Baylor, Texas Tech, and all that stuff, and A&M. And I got out there and saw that Southeastern Conference, and I'll tell you what opened my eyes. Florida and Alabama and Tennessee and Georgia. I mean, that's some real time football out there.
Yeah, and rivalries too. That's one thing in Colorado. You kind of have like CU, CSU, whatever. It's not like huge. I would say the CSU, Wyoming one's bigger. But when I went because my college was Louisville, and their big rivals UK, and so especially in basketball, they would burn couches on the neighboring or whoever lost. They'd have like burning couches and stuff. I was like, man, this is insane. Like, don't wear like the colors in the wrong town. Like, it's crazy. Like some of these rivalries and stuff, but I love it.
I didn't even know Auburn was in Alabama until I got to Alabama. Could have told you. I couldn't have told you on the map where Auburn was, and I had no idea about the Iron Bowl. And when I got out there and I realized how big of a deal it was for the Crimson Tide and to face off in that Iron Bowl against Auburn, you a fight can break out at any time. From what I saw over there, you'd be at a party and it's split down the middle. It's either War Eagle or Roll Tide, and it's neat to see those rivalries. I didn't know anything but Texas and Texas A&M growing up. That was the be all end all for us, and that again against Oklahoma, and
Little Red River.
Yep, the Red River shootout. That's a big deal here in Texas.
Yeah. See, one story I love telling is we were in Lexington, which is where UK is, and my uncle was wearing UNC, so it was Michael Jordan stuff, and people were giving him the nastiest looks. I had U of L, so Louisville stuff on anyway, so it was bad. But he was like going around in the Cracker Barrel, being like, "Man, they don't even know how to play basketball here. I thought we were gonna get in a fight." I was like,
Yep.
I was like, "All right, we got to leave. We're going to a different restaurant."
Yeah. Yeah. And you mix college football and all that beer, boy, it can get out of hand pretty quick. So
pretty quick. Well, Aaron, before we take up too much time, because I know you're super, super busy, thanks again for joining us tonight. And it sounds like you're going to be back next week talking a film. We won't say what yet, but I'm pretty excited to discuss that one. But for anyone watching or listening, if they wanted to find out about any of the awesome stuff you're doing, where can they go to find that?
You can check us out on any form of social media, 360 Pro Wrestling on Facebook, on X, on Instagram. We've got a lot of cool things coming up. Working exclusively kind of with John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL, and putting together a lot of full weekend events as opposed to one-day wrestling shows. So you could catch us anywhere on tour in Texas. We're pretty much everywhere all the time. You keep up with what I got going on, on Facebook. I do a little Instagram. I have a Twitter. I rarely use it. I'll retweet something that the company puts out, but I don't spend too much time on there. People can get kind of ugly and the comments can get kind of disrespectful. So it's a lot easier not to look at all that stuff and stay focused on what you're doing.
I kept thinking about this and it would leave my mind and it keeps coming back. So before I forget, have you gone to where they filmed Young Guns in New Mexico?
No, but I have found some pictures I've seen in some of the groups, and I want to real bad because, that's one of them other things, it's just a movie, but those locations are just tattooed in your brain, so I would love to see that. And they're still there. That would be cool to see that. Absolutely. There's nothing. I mean, I'm telling you, if my wife would move with me and let us move to New Mexico, we'd be living right there outside of the courthouse and the outhouse, Morgan building or something, and be perfectly content. But anything, I look so forward to just expanding my journey through history out there in New Mexico. And I really look forward to experiencing that with y'all and with the rest of the coalition. You guys are great. It's ever so often when like-minded individuals get together that love something so much and care about something, you really make some great friendships, some great bonds. So I'm really thankful to meet you guys and know you guys, and so fun to have something like this that we all care about that we can share and talk about.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I'm so thankful. It's a weird way we kind of got involved in everything, but it was because of Roswell. We went there and we met John LeMay, and that's how we ended up meeting the coalition, was through, I think John was on Chasing Billy at some point, doing one of the podcasts.
Yeah.
And just so lucky that, Josh and James have, involved us and, invited us, especially to the Stinking Springs stuff. So again, we got to shout them out. And going back to Stinking Springs and Fort Sumner that night, so much fun, just hanging out with you guys, just talking Billy, and it was so much fun.
I felt so at home out there, and when we were sitting out there next to his tombstone drinking beer, and then I was happy as a bird in a tree, man. Like, just surrounded by people that all care about this the same way, and having a cold beer and just being there is so magical. And I was trying to sit there all night. I stayed all night. And when we all went back there to where where Maxwell's was, sitting back there with you guys, like, what a fun time, man. Just hauling on the last chip around, drinking beer, having a great time in one of the most famous historical places ever. So that, man, what a blessing.
Hey, one of these times you'll have to come up to Roswell with us when we do the festival. There's lots of Pat Garrett stuff and Chisholm and Ash Upson stuff around there. Like, and John LeMay, like, we can go talk. We meet with him usually once a year when we're out there.
That's really cool. I would love to go to Roswell anyways. That it's hard not to be real interested in that stuff. And especially nowadays, with all this disclosure, everybody kind of like, I already knew, like, I think we're all pretty confident what was going on, but I think we'd all probably be shook to our foundation if we really knew what was happening.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. How much we didn't know about,
Yeah, I think some of it's kind of one of them things like, probably better not to know. There's probably a reason we don't know, and so I'll take a little ignorant bliss. So,
I mean, considering what I saw people doing over toilet paper, it might be better they don't know about aliens. So.
Yeah, for real, though.
People are being held up in Colorado by gunpoint over toilet paper. I was like, all right, don't tell them about aliens. Just let it go.
Man, yeah, just let that ride. Yeah.
All right, Aaron. Well, we will let you go. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next week to talk that movie.
That sounds great. Look forward to it.
So once again, we want to say thank you to Aaron for joining us on this really fun, exciting conversation with him on Culz Interviews today, as we talked a whole lot of topics that we enjoy, and of course he enjoys as well. And yeah, we also want to shout out the Billy the Kid Historical Coalition. If you guys aren't following them or haven't checked out their stuff, make sure to do that right now. Also, make sure to go follow Aaron. Like we said, he does lots of cool stuff, be it wrestling, rodeo, or helping with the Billy the Kid stuff. So I will be a good host to make sure all of their links are in the description below. But until next time, guys, for more Culz Interviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit the like and give us a subscribe. And let us know what was your favorite part of this interview. And just stay tuned. Aaron will be back for a pretty exciting movie review.